I wanted to talk to two talk radio guys who have to deal with this, and here they are. Bernard McGuirk and Sid Rosenberg, hosts of the Bernie and Sid Show. That makes sense. Bernard McGuirk and Sid Rosenberg, Bernie and Sid
Very
Show.
Creative.
BS.
Okay, 77 WABC Radio here in New York City, is weekdays 9 to noon. So what I want to ask you guys, when you get calls on this subject, and this is just talk radio heaven, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it's crack talk radio. It's crack for talk radio.
Right.
Yes.
You know, people, they want to vent, they want to talk about,
Yes.
but they don't really know anything. As far as if a person like John Conyers says, hey, I didn't do it. They don't know whether John Conyers did it or not.
No.
Right.
Okay,
No.
so when you're fielding calls, Sid, what tone are you starting to hear time after time?
It's a political thing, right? So if you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, it doesn't matter what you know or don't know about John Conyers, he's a bad guy. Same thing with Al Franken. On the other side, Roy Moore, he's the bad guy. So without any information, even without a dialogue from me and Bernie, the callers call up, they're on a certain political side, and the guy on the other side,
guilty.
He's toast. Guilty.
Guilty.
Right. Guilty.
All right.
Done.
And by the way, I'm no different. I'm the same exactly.
Well, you do.
That's my point of view.
Don't you feel badly,
No,
though?
I try to be impartial sometimes, but
You don't have to be impartial, though. This is what I do on these things, all right? I take it as far as the facts.
Yes.
I said this morning on a Washington, D.C. radio station, I would not vote for Roy Moore. Right. I wouldn't vote for him.
Right.
All right? Now, I don't know what Roy Moore did or did not do. I'm looking at the overall presentation of Judge Moore.
Exactly.
And to me, if I lived in Alabama, it's not good enough.
But this is my opinion, and this is where maybe I'm rationalizing a little because I take that side. It was a media hit job, a Washington Post hit job, and the voters are reacting to that, a backlash to that. In other words, had they released this information before the primary, the voters could have made an intelligent choice. They would have had Luther Strange, and they know that. Instead, they were manipulated, and they're going to have a Democrat, perhaps because of the Washington Post, and they're saying, we're not going to have that.
But the polls now say that Moore is ahead by 5 points.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think there's a bigger issue here. If the Washington Post had a more stable reputation as being fair,
Right.
had it been a Wall Street Journal that broke this story, for example, the voters may be a little bit more inclined.
You're right. The Washington Post and the New York Times both have a bad reputation. I'll tell you the one guy, Bill, that it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. They were doing the Macarena in the streets. We were doing the worm naked on the floor in the studio. Right. Matt Lauer.
Why?
We had Republicans and Democrats.
Okay. So why the disdain for Mr. Lauer? Why?
Because we're bad guys. We're
Tell me.
Seriously, look, he's one of these liberal icons who's morally superior. He's a moral conscience. He's a champion of women's rights. All this nonsense that he puts forth. He looks down his nose at people, and he's very
so
judgmental.
Your perception of him is he's a hypocrite.
He's judgmental, yes, and that's
why.
That's exactly why we're like,
The callers, though, in New York City, you don't do, WABC isn't known for to be a right-wing or left-wing station.
No, I would say that it is, and it's mostly right-wing.
It leans right.
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you have Savage in the afternoon.
Right.
I miss will bash anybody in the morning, right?
Yes.
And you guys are all over the place.
That's right.
So the conservative callers, they don't like Lauer because they perceive him to be a champion of the liberal cause.
That's right.
Right, exactly.
But let me point this out. Hillary Clinton's people hate Lauer. Hate him.
but
and celebrated his demise. Hillary Clinton's people, because she, they thought, gave Trump a pass and was too tough on Hillary.
But the bigger picture is these people were the ones who, when it was the Clintons, they dismissed, for example, NBC. They were the same people who sat on the Juanita Broderick interview back in
during
the impeachment hearings, and they remember that sort of stuff.
The Ronan Farrow stuff, right? All this stuff about Harvey Weinstein. NBC had that.
NBC is now in the eye of the storm.
That's right.
Not just Lauer, the whole structure.
I would go from Andy Lack to Phil Griffin.
These are executives at NBC.
Right.
The overall, though, is that we're living in a country where you can be convicted by a headline.
That's right.
That's
okay. You guys both understand.
And by the way, our monologue, if we come on in the afternoon or morning and we lean one way or the other because our fans tend to like us, we change minds. We may very well take a guy who thinks that this guy's not a bad guy, and by 9:30, he's a horrible guy.
Well, that's good. At least people are listening with an open mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Because people have to understand now that what the press is doing is whipping this into a frenzy, all right? And there's really nobody safe. There really isn't any. And next year, when in the congressional races and everything like that, as they just said with Donald Trump, he better get ready. All right,
yeah.
they're coming for him. But in the congressional races next year, the Senate and the House, this stuff's going to be every week, every day. He did this, he did that. This candidate did this candidate did that. You wait and see.
It's morphing.
This is the big gun now.
It's a witch hunt. You're right about that. And yes, Trump will be in the crosshairs as well. But then again, he always has been.
But it's going to get
since he won the nomination.
This is going to be epic, as the kids say.
Okay, but the question then becomes, Bill, if everybody else kind of begs out, Conyers, you say, is going to be done, Franken is going to be done, everybody gets done, Trump's not going to be done. So when all this comes flying at him, what does it really mean? He's not going to be done.
It depends how Trump himself handles it, all right? Because you say that he's not going to be done, but in the court of public opinion, he's got the press lined up against him. It's 80-20.
He does, but people see through it now. I believe
you're
they
right.
do.
I think that it's going to be like Roy Moore. I'm going to predict soon that I think Moore is going to win in Alabama.
Probably.
I think he's going to win.
And then if the Senate removes him, the Alabama governor
gets to appoint
a Republican. So Trump wins on that.
Guy.
The strategy
right. And Trump knows that. All right, Bernie and Sid, 77 WABC Radio.
It's fantastic.
We hope you guys will come back, and we really appreciate you coming.